Hi, Kate Stroud. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm okay. Thank you for agreeing to speak to me and spill the beans about how you stay sane. Okay. So I'm just going to go straight out the gate.
Okay.
I had to write down my questions, otherwise you and I would be
Mm-hmm.
way out, way out.
An idea
So
of how.
I'm going to start with this. If you were to meet someone at a dinner party where you
Mhm.
felt really at ease, not a dinner party where you felt awkward, because we've all been there and you're just like,
I'd be at
um,
the table eating.
yeah, you're eating at the wall and you're going to ghost and
Mhm.
this is not that party. You are so comfortable right now.
Mhm.
And the food is good. It meets all your dietary requirements. You've had a good night's sleep and you don't have to be anywhere. Um, how would you introduce yourself to someone you're meeting? Like, how would you be like, hey, I'm Kate, and dot, dot, dot.
Mm-mm. What an interesting question, because I recently doing a lot of self work and journaling and reflecting, and a lot of things that I've been working on is I always would present of like what I do, what I've done, my accomplishments, my whatever. And so I'm trying to shift away from the things I do as an identity of who I am. Um, and so getting more broad, because I can get caught up in the weeds of explaining because I do a lot of things. When people ask me what I do for a living, that's real tough because I usually have about 5 hustles going on at a time. Um, and I enjoy that. So when I say, "Hey, I'm Kate Stroud," um, I like to do a lot of things. Um, I don't actually have a total answer for that right now because I am in a state of fluxing and learning this new skill and flexing this new muscle. So it used to be, I'm a birth doula, I'm a birth doula trainer, um, and I'm also an artist, but I'm not necessarily selling my wares anywhere. So does that make me an artist? So kind of struggling also with those. If I'm not monetizing something, is it part of who I am? And or if I am that, but I'm not actively making something right now, because like my workshop is all in boxes right now. Although I have intentions of making things. So when I say I'm Kate Stroud, this is who I am. I'd probably go to the doula trainer, route right now. I was a massage therapist at times, but that has, I retired from that. I've had an organizing business. I still do organizing. Um, so, I've kind of come to also say like the Jane of all trades. And then I would probably reflect back and say, what do you like? What are you interested in? And then trying to find a common ground with people, because I also love homesteading. I love preparing food. I love gardening. I love cooking. I love creating in any form. I love backpacking, hiking. Um, so, I'm just a person who likes to dig with my hands. Like I'm right now making tomato paste sauce out of the plethora of my, friend's tomato garden, because she was like, they're dying on the vine. And I was like, okay. And my preservationist is like, nothing must go to waste. And so I'm making jars of paste that I'm going to give back to her. Um, so who I am is someone that's very dynamic and open to things. So if I had to introduce myself, I'd probably say like, I'm Kate Stroud. I do a lot of stuff. What do you like to do?
Very good. I
That's a
like
big
that.
old non-answer there.
Well, yeah. And, it is definitely in and of itself a lesson in mindfulness to try to introduce yourself as something, somebody who is, as opposed to somebody who does. And right.
And
And
that's
it's really
that's
tricky to try
Mhm,
to put it into words.
mhm. Especially when it's not one thing.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll ever be someone who focuses on just one thing, because alone, even if I never had to work again in my life, I would still be doing jewelry and gardening and food preservation and backpacking and hiking, and so who am I? Like, you know, um, I've always kind of said I'm just me and how I show up every day. I'm a seeker. I will always uh, investigate deeper into myself, into humans, into interactions, into existence, into um, how we walk through the world as humans, how we, just my day is filled with questions in my head, and just um, seeking the best way to walk through the world, the best way to engage with people. Um, and I guess, yeah, like a seeker is, and then I think of like Harry Potter, like I'm the seeker, but think of Harry Potter when I say that. So I did just go on a Harry Potter binge. So
That's
um, yeah. Um, so yeah, it is, and also with like Instagram and TikTok and all these new social media platforms that people are on. Really like this, especially the younger generation. I sound really old saying that, but the younger generation coming up and utilizing those platforms beautifully to have us all question that of how do you present. Like I feel like every day in my, like, my friends sharing posts or this, that, and the other, I have different new ways of looking at the world. So like, so yeah, the introducing myself as who I am rather than what I do, like that's a that's a big one, especially I think for our generation and older to unpack, because our identity was always tied into what you did. Like I'm job seeking right now, and I'm fighting my ego on it all the time of like of what does that look like? When I got, about 10 years ago, I had to go out and get a job, and I was looking for things, and I still had my massage practice. I was still doing doula work, but I went and worked at a grocery store as a 38-year-old, 30, whatever, however old I was. But and that was kind of hard. It's like, but I'm like, it was a great job. Yeah, it was a great job. And I really liked it. It didn't totally work with my other jobs, but so shaking some of all of that stuff, that is, who knows, it's old stuff from when you grow up and where you grow up and people's expectations they put on you. But also being self-employed, every interaction is marketing. So like that's where you're at, of like, if someone asked you like, what do you do, if you didn't say I have a Patreon and I'm a yoga instructor, you know that's kind of doing a disservice to yourself. So it's like this catch 22 of,
is.
as a self-employed person, not identifying as what you do, but understanding that every interaction is marketing. So
And it's such an icky feeling because, you're raised to be, humbled and quiet, especially as, identifying as female and having, martyr mothers who are just like, shh. And then now, and then being self-employed most of our adult lives and having to be like, hi, I'm over here. I do this thing. If you want, I do this thing. And
yeah,
struggling between that, because
making
it
that space
feels
up.
right. And also just being like, fairly anti-establishment, anti-capitalist,
Mhm.
you know, crunchy earth mama types where we're like, where is this line
Mhm.
between, surviving that doesn't feel,
Right.
so intense and difficult.
Yeah, identity tied up in that. Like, even the simple question of how would you introduce yourself gets into a big conversation of identity. And I feel like this is how my brain works all the time.
Yeah. Well, I always feel like it's like a true blessing that there are so many answers to that question, right? And like, depending on the day, the answer is going to be a little different, but just to be like, how fortunate that we've worn so many hats, right?
And I wish it was, there's something like, I don't have I'm sure there's a day that I would have the bravado to do this, but I don't. But I kind of love, like, one day I was like, if I was introducing myself, I should just say like, hi, I'm Kate Stroud. I'm amazing. And this is such a great day for you that you get to meet me, because it's a great day for me to meet you. I would love that to be an like just be like, I'm so excited for you to meet me because I'm excited to meet you, and this is just going to be a great day. But it kind of rides the line of like, wow, okay, you're so full of yourself. But then also it's just like, then we talk about self-love. Then we talk about being proud of ourselves.
Right.
I'm not perfect. Um, but I wish we could all walk around and just confidently introduce ourselves,
Right.
in that way. And also say, like, I'm really excited to meet you and your awesomeness. I get super cheesy.
All right. So, um, the question is, how long have you been practicing yoga or meditation or mindfulness? And there's kind of like slashes between those words because what that looks like for everybody is a little bit different. It doesn't have to be like this rigid, this is the lineage that I've practiced under. These are my teachers. When I became aware of that, one, it really helped to regulate like my whole nervous system. So it was
Mm-hmm.
a massive shift for me that I went from like always operating up here to like, oh, I can control my movements there. And then that has this effect on how I regulate my breath. My breath will help regulate my nervous system. And then I feel a hell of a lot better day in and day out.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have a sense, a period of your life where you recognize that?
Hmm. Mine was kind of a stumbling path. And it still is. I'm going to be real honest. Like I stumble all the time.
Mhm.
Um, the first time I grew up with my mom meditating a lot. Like that was very present in my house. And so I started meditating, but when I remember is like 13. And I would take quiet time, and I had some profound experiences meditating at that age. And then you become an older teenager and you get busy and get into things that take your attention. And I always journaled. So the mindfulness practice of journaling, as a younger person was more of like emotional dumping, but it still was a practice that I have. I have a tote of journals actually sitting in my living room right now to go look at, because it's been something I've thought about doing for years because we've talked about that in the past. And so meditation and journaling is something I've done, not throughout my life, but I wouldn't say like totally consistent as a young person. But um, being mindful is something, especially in my early 20s, as I got into birth work and raising small children and trying to take that time to center myself. So that time alone, I realized was very important to me. And I got into, I haven't had a dishwasher in 10 years. And I got into dishwashing being meditative because there was in the book, The Essential Writings of Thich Nhat Hanh, there was an excerpt that he spoke of, that, when you're eating, be present and eat, which I'm never really great at. But where I was able to really hone in my awareness was when I did dishes. And, I usually have a sink, with a window over it. So, looking at the window and doing dishes. And, when people are like, oh, I'll do dishes. And I'm usually like, no, I actually really like doing dishes. It created a joyful thing rather than a task or a chore. So I've been more of a person to sneak meditation in the cracks. I got more of a formal meditative practice, in my 30s, mid late 30s. And then it got even more refined more recently, and it just kind of built upon itself. And the teachings of, Joe Dispenza, I've listened to his work. And so utilizing some tools, I used Headspace for a little bit. I do find that I like guided meditations, but I usually prefer complete silence if possible. I really love silence. Um, I think it's also because I really enjoy being in my head or allowing things to kind of float around in there. And the biggest thing with meditation, that when I learned meditation, especially applying it to where my work. So how do I apply it to birth work when I help people try to learn how to, really relax, like let go. I'm not gonna say relax, but let go into having a baby. I said, they're like, what is a really important thing to do? I said, like what classes, what tricks, tools, in the birth world. And I said, just take a meditation class. Meditation is the art of allowing the thoughts to run through your mind. Like you can't make the thoughts go away. Like allowing it to be. And I see a conveyor belt. The I Love Lucy with the chocolates, where you have the conveyor belt, and just let it go by, and observe what's there, and getting yourself to that lower resonance. And I, I do have ADHD and I am medicated now, but like for me, sometimes when I'm in that super squirrely place, I know I should sit down. I don't always make the space to sit down. And so one of the things I'm also working on is prioritizing myself, and making sure that I get that into the day. As I said, I'm in a transition right now. So some of my practices have, kind of taken a pause, but I'm trying to get back into it. But, having my altar, having my, blanket and my meditation, pillow set up, and it's in the corner of my room. It's always there. It's always calling to me. And then sometimes I might do just a meditation laying in bed. Reading one of your posts recently where you do your gratitude practice and like getting it, and like being like, I'm starting to do that. I like wake up, and maybe there's the undertone of overwhelm or anxiety, and I sit there and be like, I have gratitude for my breath today. I have gratitude for my home. I have gratitude for my children. I have gratitude for my friends. I have gratitude that my tomato paste turned out tasting okay. And so really incorporating that, it's just built and built and built. And I'm really excited to see where it goes out from here, and having people in my life that also are on a similar path. So my meditation and mindfulness practice has been woven throughout my entire life. And also having a profession that, mindfulness is a lot of birth work too, of like sitting with people and watching the space and reading people. And it's making sure in my day to day that I'm slowing down enough to, sometimes I just have to stop and breathe and just be like, okay, what am I seeing? What am I feeling? All that kind of stuff, and going through the checklist. Now, regarding yoga, I don't know if you totally remember my path with yoga. I, about 10 years, I'll tell a little story that but about 10 years ago, I've always watched you have a yoga practice, and been like, oh, that's cool, that's cool. But for some reason, yoga always kind of made me scratchy. It was not something I got into or was really drawn to. And there was a point, you were in school, you were getting trained, and you're like, can you come to my training? Just, I need bodies, to practice on. And I only did it because I love you so dearly. And I remember sitting in the park and not talking to Tammy, being like, I fucking hate yoga. I just need to tell you that. I fucking hate yoga. I probably shouldn't swear right now, but I'm like, I'll say it again.
That's all right. It's all
I
good.
hate yoga. And I was like, I'm doing this because I love her. And I remember I was like next to Greg, and he was on a mat and I was on a mat, and Tammy was there. And I just like in down dog being like, ugh. But then you started teaching, and I started going. And I'm going to say, like, I do love you. So like part of it is like getting to hang out with you. I really like your style. I like your approachability. I really love how you practice. And I would tell people that of like, I was like, I love Amanda Top. Go to her yoga class. She's amazing. She made it so I didn't hate yoga. You did. You made it so I didn't hate yoga.
Thanks, I'll put that in my resume. I'll make it so
yeah.
maybe you won't hate yoga as much.
Yeah, maybe you won't hate yoga as much. And I've actually really enjoy it. And I've gone to yoga. You left, and there are some other yoga studios that I've gone to that I have enjoyed. I'm at a point where I'm trying to figure out what my home practice is, because I'm not in a place where I can go to a place and do yoga, for just some reasons. And so getting into that self-discipline of yoga, I'm trying to get back into it in this place of transition. But every single day, I think about it. And I think about like, okay, I need to carve out space for that. So that's when I kind of said at the beginning, it's a stumbling path. Um, I'm still stumbling, and I'm 10 years into a yoga practice. I'm 30 some years into mindfulness meditation practice. And it's having grace and saying like, okay, I went to bed last night and there was a couple of days that I had my yoga mat out right next to my meditation pad in my bedroom. That's pretty small. Like it's like I walk on my yoga mat to like get my clothes on and everything and just be like, just have it out. Because
Yeah.
if I have it out, if I just have my yoga mat laying out, and there's really literally just enough room for the yoga mat between like my bedstand and the door, and the bed and my dresser. And I was like, if you just have it out, you might do a down dog.
Mhm.
I might do a sun salutation. I might just like stretch and like what I usually end up doing is like my brain's like, I can't handle anything. And so I will do like, and then I'll bend over. Like I love stretching my hamstrings. I don't know what it is, but I'll do it in public. I'll do it while I'm waiting in line. I'm that lady who's just like bent over in half in random places. Like
I'm the squatter. I squat in public because I'm like
oh
my fucking back, and I squat. I do a nice wide squat. I'm like, and then I'm like,
I'm
should probably
pointing.
get up. I'm in
Yeah,
crib.
I'm like, yeah. And I don't think that'll change. I'm just gonna be like, I'm like, I'm tired. I'm tired. And sometimes I use it as excuse of like, because I am 5'10", and so sometimes I talk to people, and instead of talking, like one of the things I do instead of talking to people who are short, instead of like hunching, because I
Mhm.
don't want to be that person as an older person. So I widen my stance, and if like they're really short, like I'm really stretching, so I can't help but start swaying side to side and doing my head. I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm just stretching. Um, but yeah, so making it so I'm at a place in transition where I'm trying to make my meditation, my yoga. I think about it all
Mhm.
day, but with a laundry list of to-dos, it's hard to wedge it in there. And like last night, I decided to watch a movie, and I was like, I should get up and do yoga or stretch while I'm watching the movie, and then I'm competing with my mental adjustment into it's okay to not do.
Yes.
So I'm on this teeter tot. Like every question that you have has more questions. Um, of like this teeter totter of like if I'm trying to reduce my stress and self care and not do so much, and but then I'm putting the pressure on to make sure I meditate, make sure I do like it's where the mindfulness self care practice gets stressful.
Yeah.
And how do you
And yeah, and I think if it starts to cross over onto the should list, like should just because not like I should do it because I know I'll feel calmer. That's a good should, right? Or whatever. Particularly if you know you've got like a rough day ahead or a rough week ahead. Like I should do it. But if it's like I should do it just because I should do it because I said I'd do it, it's like no, 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 no.
no?
No. Also, any of these practices are going to ebb and flow over the course of a lifetime. If we're so lucky to have the course of a lifetime, because that's life, right? Like
Mhm.
shit happens, and you may or may not be able to have the same level of diligence simply because the hours in the day don't
Right,
shake out that way, or it's winter and the sun sets earlier and that has impacted something, so it's like just letting there be so much grace around that and
right,
never letting it be like should, unless like I said, unless like I really need to do this because I'm going to be
right.
a better person for it. Okay.
Right. And where my mind has been like keeping, my stress down. It is really good for my mental state. My health is a thing. For people who don't know, I've had cancer twice. I had a diagnosis of advanced stage 3 colon cancer in 2013 and um, very large surgery, had an ostomy bag for 8 months and chemotherapy. And then 6 months after that journey ended, I got diagnosed again with a tumor on my ovary that was colon cancer in stage 4. And I had a full hysterectomy and declined chemotherapy and went to Eastern medicine. So I have a weird diet, and so then I'm also grappling with that should. And you are absolutely correct. Like the should is not a word I should use. It's uh I almost want to turn it into like the self-love of like, okay, why did I prioritize all these to-dos on my list of recycling boxes or unpack, like stuff that can really wait? Like, why am I prioritizing that stuff over my self-care and self-love? And and I haven't figured out that answer yet. And what I'm wondering is like, because if I go return the boxes, that is a very clear sense of accomplishment. If I unpack boxes, it's a clear sense of accomplishment. If I'm doing yoga or meditation or journaling, it is an accomplishment, but for some reason, this self-care, it doesn't hold that same heft that it should. I'm gonna say that it should, or that it could.
Well, there's no visible witness to that, is there?
Right. I am the only visible witness of those. And so is that tied to selfishness? Because I do share it, like I do share a space with another human. And so not having all the stuff all over the place, or keeping my space tidy, or if someone comes over, they can see that my place is um tidy or not full of stuff or unpacked or whatever. But if I do meditation, yoga, or journaling, it's all me.
Yeah.
And so then there's that to look at of like, why can't I just do this for myself? Like, and I want to do this for myself.
Mhm.
And and so that's a bridge I am going across right now. And when I have my rhythms going, they feel great. But it's when it stops for forever reason or like gets disrupted. Like, so routines and space are really important to me, and my routines and space have been disrupted. So finding like, it was hard for me to like, I'm in a new apartment. It was hard for me to do my dishes for the first time because that rhythm, that routine, that ritual, like I had to think about it more.
Mhm.
So in this space, I knew what my yoga routine was. I knew what my meditation routine was. And then
Mhm.
this is just a new space. And so creating those new habits, I am a creature of habit. And so creating new habits, and doing it just for me.
Right.
And actually, I'm just gonna say, I get a little teary saying that right now. Like I feel it welling. I'm like, it's just for me.
Yeah.
Um, so, and we want to put all these external explanations about it of like, well, I'm doing it so, as I'm in full-blown menopause right now. Like I'm actually beyond it. Like they took the whole kit and caboodle. And I know my muscle tone, and I want to be a strong 90-year-old still out hiking, and but I think also because of my ADHD, sometimes I can only see like the to-do list in front of my head right now, rather than like, yeah, the payoff is me and me at 90,
Yeah.
and like, and also telling like, and explaining to birthing people. Like I just talked to someone on the phone before this, and her daughter's going to have a baby like this week. And I said, hey, just the self-care. She might feel really good afterwards, but making sure that like she takes care of herself after she has a baby, because as we get older, that's when we start feeling it, and it's like the long game, and
Yeah.
playing those long games of like, if I do yoga today, are my little flappy wings going to go away and my arms? No, but it's the long game of just practice, and it's not about even the muscle tone, the body, whatever. That is a side effect of actually the being in touch with my body, the communicating with my body, the being in tune. Um, as well as longevity of the actual mechanisms. But it's that relationship. And also like especially as I've gotten older and especially as I've gone through illness and healing, I am well aware that my intellect, my emotional being, and my body, I do see them as three separate people.
Yeah.
Like my body has wisdom that I couldn't even touch with a 10-foot pole. And how and I know you and numerous people have heard me say of just like, when we were born out of our birth people, we knew how to blink, we knew how to sneeze, cough, urinate, defecate, move our arms, do all this really cool stuff. um And, we weren't researching in utero how to do that. Like our bodies knew how to do that. Our bodies knew how to grow. Like, I mean, this is kind of a complex mechanism here. And also being a birthing person, like my body has built another human that I had nothing to do with. And I'm a spiritual like person. I don't go by any doctrine, but like that's some crazy stuff. And so then also understanding like, I'm old enough and I've gone through enough stuff that like I also can like, and I sit and say, and I think it's really frustrating for people who like have debates or fights or talk to me sometimes that I'm like, oh, intellectually, I'm very well aware of XYZ, but emotionally, I can't execute that right now because my emotion and my intellect are not agreeing. My emotions have not caught up with my intellect, and really owning that discord of,
Well, I was going to say, I think that's okay. And dare I say preferable, like leave some space for unknown and mystery.
Mhm.
Sacred.
Oh yeah. And when learning things of like, kind of going like, I don't know what I don't know. And I have a whole life of finding out new stuff. And sometimes I will intellectually hear and take in information that I can't emotionally execute or I don't emotionally understand yet. So I can say intellectually, I totally get it. Emotionally, I don't have a clue yet. How the body, like we talk about Bessel van der Kolk's, the body keeps score of just like our cells have so much stuff, and like, and having had cancer, like there's no biology that I'm predisposed to, no environmental. I mean, we could probably debate on environmental stuff because, you know, that's a whole other story. But I do believe that like our emotional state, high anxiety, high cortisol, and we live in a world where like we're all anxious, and even before COVID, we're all anxious. And now you add COVID, we're all, really steeped in cortisol a lot. And we don't even know we've normalized it now because we're all in it. So no one is unique now in that experience globally. Giving people skills to have that energy move through their body so it doesn't stay in their body and fester, because I will shout from the mountaintops, like if you hold stuff in, your cells will do weird things sometimes. And whether it's, cancer, or whether it's fibromyalgia or migraine headaches, arthritis, autoimmune stuff, like, everybody's different. We are all individual machines. So, it's I think what you do is really important. And the fact that we're having this conversation is really important.
I have just one more question, and you sort of touched on it when you were talking about dishes. So, Esther Perel, do you know Esther Perel? I feel like I've sent you her stuff, right? She's great, like Belgian, French therapist, and she does a lot of couple counseling and a lot of like partnership counseling for like work duos and stuff. But I just think she's phenomenal. And she posed this great question of, everybody has like routines in their days and routines that they do, just daily in their life. And like asking the question of like, what routines do you look at as rituals, if any? And if not, how can you make them rituals? So the difference between a ritual and a routine is mindfulness, right?
Mhm.
And so when I used to teach, excuse me, I used to teach a big senior class. I did it for like 4 years, and of older folks, and would really work a lot on their balance. And I would be like, you can do this at home. You don't have to wait until you see me once a week, or whatever to do this. I'd say when you are washing your dishes, or when you are, doing your morning, whatever, washing your face, brushing your teeth, like try to stand with maybe not on one leg, but maybe just bend the other knee and be on your tiptoes, one flat foot, one tiptoe, and see how that, or brush your teeth with your other hand, or any of these things, just to switch it up and make you be present to what you're doing. And so Esther Perel says the same thing. And I think, and it's funny for me, I'm very much like creature comfort. So it's like, When I go to bed at night, I look forward to the coffee I'm going to drink in the morning because it brings
Mhm.
me joy. Like I go to bed like this mattress feels so dang good. And tomorrow I
I
get
get
to drink coffee, you know, and when I drink my
hot
coffee, I
coffee.
meditate. And so like it literally makes me excited for the next thing. And I, talked to Greg, my husband. I'm like, so what about you? He's like, I just drink my coffee,
Mhm.
and he's like, I feel like I live with a 5-year-old, or whatever. But I know you and I are wired a lot like that, and that the very fact that you said, oh, dishes. When I do
Mhm.
dishes, that's my time to take in all the things, right? So do you have any other examples of like, and I know you've literally just moved, you're packing kids off here, there, and everywhere, but assuming
Mhm.
kind of a more stable life, where do you find ritual in your routines?
It's I love this question. And
I know, right?
I I did it's funny because like moving and having a very large life change just occur. Like there were things that I was like, I've always made my bed in the morning. And then, at least as long as I can remember, and I was like, am I a person who just makes my bed in the morning? And I think there was one day I tried unmaking my bed and I think I made it to maybe 11 o'clock. And I was like, oh God, I need to make my bed. Like it really disturbed me that my bed was unmade. Um, and so I'm actually at a place where I'm like playing around with, what were the rituals I did for me and what were the rituals I did from the outside for just, of the environment that I was in or just habits I got into. Um, so a ritual I do have is making my bed every morning. And I do need to like pull all the sheets up and have it like I like a nice flat bed. And my pillows are just so. I like my bedside tidy. It's got stuff on it, but I usually like I have a stack of books because I put the books next to my bed because I want to make time to read. Read. I have not had a lot of time to read in a number of years, and wanting to really set that intention to read more. So I have a stack of books, and I have my chargers, and I kind of tied everything up. Another ritual that I've had for a long time is walking 3 miles every morning. And getting back into that routine because I've lost it with the move and a friend being in town and just sleep cycles being thrown totally off. Um, and but like I would get up and would walk every morning. And last year there was 2 weeks I didn't walk. Um, and it was because the temperatures got like below zero. But I walked in the winter, I walked in the snow, I walked in rainstorms, I walked. I think there was a few days I didn't here and there for whatever reason, but for the most part, that was part of it. Sometimes I would talk to people on the phone, sometimes I would listen to podcasts, and sometimes I would just be quiet. Um, Walking and hiking is a huge thing for me every year, which I still have to do the one for this year, but every year I'll hike the Potawatomi Trail, which is 17 and a half miles, and I'll hike it in one day by myself. And people have always been like, I'd love to go on that hike with you. And I was like, that's not gonna happen. Like, because that is something that is an annual practice.
Mhm.
And I did it even through treatment. Like my mom actually scolded me for going after I was done with chemo. And I was like, Mom, it's fine. I was hurting. I was like,
Yeah.
hurt after that. I was like, I can't walk for a few days, but it's fine. But I've always had the intention of awareness, and that awareness is even a ritual for me. So even if it's not, rooted in an action, the awareness is a ritual also, which I think we put so much on, like, again, going back to what do we do?
Yeah.
What do you do for the full moon? And I was like, I don't do anything other than know that she's
Acknowledge it.
acknowledge it. I'll go and like walk around and look. I'm that person like, I gotta go find the moon today.
Right.
Or if I see it in the morning, texting people like, oh, look at the moon. Like, I've texted my kids and they're like, cool. I mean, I think they might be more enthusiastic, but those are texts that I send out to people. And because the moon is for some, like, it's something that's important to me. So rituals not necessarily being grounded in doing, and sometimes rituals just being awareness. Being okay in the discomfort of my rituals, my habits, being in discord, and not shooting on myself, and saying, because I also don't want to do it and be resentful of it.
Yeah.
So maybe where I'm at in my life right now, today, it's not part of it, and but it might be tomorrow.
Mhm.
Um, it's a crazy little balancing act, and that's what life is. Life is just about. I'm realizing life's just about tearing everything down and building it back up again over and over and over and over and over again. And this is not going to be the last time my world's going to get turned upside down. And
Yeah.
and thinking that, if I get past this XYZ, I will be good. And like, no, it's something else that's just going to come up. And yeah, some rituals and practices might be rattled, and then I'll find it again, and they'll get rattled again, and that's okay. And just I think my ritual is the continuously coming back. So my ritual is continuously coming back with intention to my meditation, to my journal, to my yoga, to my, the things that bring me peace and I find joy. So my ritual is like just continuously coming back to it, and that's going to be a lifetime.
Yeah.
Hopefully a very long lifetime.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, cool. Thank you for answering my questions and taking the time out of your day to do so. And
Absolutely.
I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too.
Now, yay.
So much.
All right. I'm gonna stop recording now.
All right. Thanks for everything.
All right, bye.
Bye.